Good evening. This is the May 14th meeting of the Finance Committee. We'll call the meeting to order at 5:25. Public comment, hearing none. Approval of minutes. I don't think we have any in front of us to approve. Department requests. So we have the request for transfer from reserve fund for the new treasurer collector bond. This was an unforeseen expense to the department. Didn't we sign this at the last meeting?
Treasurer collector? How much?
This was for $837.
That doesn't sound familiar.
No, I don't think so.
Didn't we? Maybe she just informed us about the
I
bond?
may have.
Okay, maybe it was just... Okay. So either way, we have the transfer from reserve fund in front of us for the bond for the treasurer collector. Each treasurer collector needs to be bonded by the town. The former collector was bonded, but that bond travels with them. It doesn't stay with the position here.
Yes.
So you have
Now
to-
that you're talking, I remember the conversation, but I don't think we signed anything for it.
Yeah, okay. So we have it in front of us to sign with backup, $837.50. It was an unforeseen.
I'll do the notes from the last time, okay?
Okay.
Did that just break your heart to say that, Francine? For the last.
Okay. So this is called treasurer collector bond, okay. I was looking for what they call it, not certification, it's bond. Okay. I move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Go to you or Vicky?
I'll throw it under her door.
Alright. Takes care of department requests. Next we have PRFs and PCFs. So there's a decent amount here. So we will start with this one. So we have a resignation from Lori Baker, the custodian. She's resigning from the duties at the Town Hall, Library, and Police. She will continue her position at the school. This is a resignation signed by all parties. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to accept the resignation.
Second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do we know why she's resigning from those three?
Give us the money.
Because
So there was always a discrepancy between what the
Yeah.
school could afford and what the town could afford.
yeah.
So next in front of us, we have a PRF for a custodian, replacing the custodian. Pay scale $15.69 per hour, 19 hours per week for 3 locations, coming from the general fund. And it has been signed off by Vicky, and it has been signed off by the PQB chair. So this will be replacing that position. So this will...
I'm assuming at the same pay. It didn't change? Or-
No.
Hasn't changed. I've got it.
Yeah.
We haven't hired anybody yet. I've got it posted.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the PRF for the custodian.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Next, we have a resignation for Velda. Her last working day was 4/26/18. She had left and relocated. She will be missed. Has been
Oh, yeah.
signed by all parties. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to accept her resignation.
Second.
We have no choice.
Second.
All in favor?
Which we did, Francine.
I know. She's a big loss.
Yep.
And so was Lori Baker. I didn't say anything.
Yeah, Lori did a good job.
She was good too.
All right, next in front of us, we have a resignation from the Highway Department, Eric Larson. He accepted a position with another place of employment, and his last day was April 20th, 2018. So this is a resignation.
April 28th was his last day?
April 20th.
I move to accept his resignation.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Following that, we have a PRF to replace that position. It's been signed by the accountant, coming from the general fund, and along with the enterprise fund and grant funded. Annual expense would be between $33,053 and $35,913. This would be for the truck driver, heavy equipment operator position.
Do they have to have a license or something for that?
Yes. So they'll need a CDL.
The CDL.
And then other endorsements
Yeah,
depending on what they're doing.
Might need a hydraulic license also, depending on what they're doing.
Pay scale was 1583 to 1720, 40 hours per week. And it has been signed by all parties.
I move to approve the PRF for the truck driver equipment operator.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have a resignation from Tom Futrell from the transfer station. Tom Futrell provided verbal notification that he wished to resign from the position of transfer station attendant on or about March 30th. He agreed to stay on for a couple weeks to train Stephen Dudick on April 14th. A message was received from Tom asking if he should give his keys to Steve because he was sufficiently trained. No, he resigned on April 14th. This is a resignation, and then there is a PCF following to fill that position. So, and it has been signed by all parties.
I move to accept his resignation.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no
Can
problem.
I see that before you? Of course. Make sure I have his name spelled right.
All right. So following that, we have a PRF. Actually, following that, we have temporary and emergency PCFs to fill that position. The hourly rate is $15.61, which I think is a little less, it looks like.
$15.61 per hour.
$15.61 per hour. It's got a note here. No change would have been $16.94, but it's, oh, I'm sorry, it's a range. Okay, so he's got an hourly rate of $15.61 for up to 22 hours per week, 52 weeks per year. $17,857.84 until position filled. So this is a temporary and an emergency to fill that position for the transfer station attendant.
Now, Tom worked 22 hours a week as well?
I do not know. I don't know what that says.
Transfer station on Wednesdays and Saturdays.
I don't think
Doesn't
they
say.
gave that on there.
Is it open 8 to 5?
I don't know. It's not 22 hours for 2 days.
No,
No.
it's not. That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Because that puts us into the benefit category. And I mean, I just, maybe he was, I just wasn't aware.
It's open 2 days a week, right?
Yeah, so Wednesdays and
I
Saturdays.
think 8 to 5, so that's 9 hours.
That's 18.
Even if it's 7 to 5, that's 10 hours.
Yeah.
That's 20 hours a week. That 20 hours makes it benefited, so.
It is odd because we don't generally replace part-time positions with benefited positions.
I was
Makes
just
sense.
assuming it was not benefited, that it was less. But I may be wrong. I don't know how to find out.
Yeah, I mean, is there a plan to open the transfer station another day, or is it?
No, I mean, it used to be open 3, but
Right.
wasn't it only a couple of years ago that they closed the
Yeah,
third
it
day?
was 2 years ago. that week.
Of course, that's the opening hours. I don't know what the requirement is as far as someone,
Otherwise,
Some of the
well, opening it, doing stuff before they officially
right,
open
that's what I meant,
or after,
yes.
so yeah.
Yeah.
But I doubt they'd be doing 11-hour days. Yeah, right, if you think about it, if it's
I would
always,
think so.
or maybe there's a third day they're working there, I don't know.
It doesn't say to replace him, it's just a,
Yeah, it's just transfer station attendant. Although, no, it's up to 22 hours a week,
okay.
so it isn't necessarily saying they're working 22, it is up to.
Okay.
I think that's maybe to afford the opportunity if they do open again
Okay.
for the 3 days.
Or if they need something special.
Right.
Okay, all right, then that makes more sense, because if it isn't
If it isn't-
regular
if it
that,
isn't
then
consistent,
they wouldn't have benefits.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah, it's worded that it's
All
got
right.
to average 20 hours a week.
okay. All right,
So we had a temporary and emergency
okay.
in front of us for Steve Dudek to replace Tom Cottrell.
All right, I move to approve.
Is there a-
I guess contingent on the fact that it is not a consistent,
22
the
hours.
hours are not consistent to
Yeah.
make the
To make
position
it a-
benefit.
Benefit.
Well, we talked, I remember we talked about that. This might have been like a year ago with the closing, allowing them the opportunity to work more if needed for things there.
Right.
But keeping it under the
Right.
benefits. Because we had that
Not having a
conversation.
pattern, so if that's it, then I'm okay.
Yeah, I remember having that conversation.
Yeah, because I thought, wasn't he either going in a half an hour early or leaving a half hour later or something?
We gave
to
him,
get things
yeah, we
done?
gave him, I think 2 extra hours a
Yeah, to
week.
take the time to, get things ready to open and then get, put things away at night.
We did do that. All right.
The only 2 things I'm gonna do is cross out, so on the emergency, it's got 1561 per hour written, the lower number crossed out, up to 22 hours per week, and then it's got 17,857.84 written with the lower number crossed out, so it accounted for the lower of the 2 rates on the emergency. And then on the temporary, it has both rates still on there. So I'm gonna cross out the lower rate. 'Cause I don't think we'd bring in someone on an emergency and then,
Pay them less.
And pay them less.
right, pay them less on emergency and then bump them with the temporary. It just doesn't make sense. So I'm gonna do that, and if it creates a problem, I guess we'll deal with it, but. Is there a motion?
I honestly, it seems sufficiently muddled that I might want more information.
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna be here, so you decide.
No, I agree.
All right.
Because
I mean,
I
that
just
does
don't
not
want
mean he
anybody.
can't work, it just
Right.
means that we're holding,
Right.
You don't want
and he isn't working.
the assumption that he can just go in and get,
It's just
work
not-
the 22 hours whenever he wants to and then assume that it's a benefited position.
I just need to understand that.
Okay. That's fine.
How
I
do you
mean,
feel?
No, I'm good with that, I'm good with tabling. I think it, just because of the two numbers, I don't necessarily like writing on these, especially when someone else wrote on
Yeah.
them. I prefer not to cross them out, so I'm good with that.
At this point, you don't know who wrote on it, right?
That's
Whether-
true.
Whether it was,
Well, Randall he did put his initials next to it.
Oh, okay.
So he wrote, crossed out, initial, but then he wrote an initial, so there was no cross out, so I'm assuming he forgot to cross those out, but I don't want to assume at this point. Let's see. So,
yeah, in other words, I probably had the same assumption.
yeah, I mean, either way, they are working on the emergency basis, and so it's not an
Yeah,
issue.
we're not holding anything else.
So we will table this. I can request more information. Next, with the highway department, we have a PRF for the permanent replacement of that position. Pay scale $16.94 per hour, number of hours up to 22 per week. Source comes from the enterprise fund, annual expense up to $19,453.90. It has been signed off by the PQB and the department chair. It has not been initialed by the accountant.
It has not.
It has not.
Is this one?
That one has.
Yeah. So this says to me that it's a benefited position. It doesn't say periodic,
I mean, it says up to.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. It's rather than just saying 22 hours.
yeah. Okay. And Vicki didn't sign it,
She did not initial that one. She usually does initial them, so.
so then is it maybe a question?
That's fine.
I know, but it's coming
Put
from
them
the...
all together?
I don't know, it's coming from the enterprise. Yeah, I would put them all together, unfortunately.
I can request some information.
I move to table the PRF, the temporary emergency, the temporary and the emergency PCFs
A second.
All
for
in
the
favor?
transfer station.
All
Aye.
in favor?
Aye.
All right. Next, we have a PCF for the principal assessor, Martha Leamy, who's currently working in the assessor's office. This is a change in position, completion of reorganization following the death of previous principal assessor. So this is a change from $22 per hour for 31 hours per week to a new rate of $24.70 per hour for 31 hours per week, 52.2 weeks per year, $39,969, $54 annually. So this is going from assistant assessor to principal assessor. It has been signed off by all parties, including the accountant, department head, PQB. So this is essentially a promotion to fill a vacant position. I think they posted and,
Yeah, for which there was a PRF.
yep. So,
Okay, I move to approve Martha Leamy as the principal assessor.
is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There's a lot.
There is.
Good.
Of course.
Well, with that.
You haven't had this many in a while.
All right, in front of us, we have a PCF for a part-time officer, Brendan Heath. This is a change in salary, change in position. So Brendan was an auxiliary officer without pay. He has completed his FTO training, passed his final test. He is now qualified to be a part-time police officer. So old hourly rate was nothing, new hourly rate is $19 per hour. He's a part-time police officer. So this does not add to the budget, it just allows flexibility in the rotation, covering shifts,
Right, if he's needed.
road details, those types of things. So if an officer is out, he's able to fill those shifts, so you're not necessarily paying someone else overtime. You know. We do do this periodically, so every few years, there's some part-time officers and things that come through. It has been signed off by the accountant, the department head, and the PQB chair.
And his last name is Brendan?
Brendan Heath.
Okay. All right, I move to approve Brendan Heath as a part-time police officer at $19 an hour.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Last, we actually have the emergency for Brendan Heath. Should have read this one first. I must have needed him right away and had him start. So same information, same concept. This is just the emergency for that PCI.
I move to approve the emergency for Brendan Heath.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. That takes care of PRFs, PCFs. We're not going to go over old business. We're not going to go over liaison reports, any other business. So we have before us proposed budget transfers. Vicki had sent these around. My printer ran out of ink, so Ed was generous enough to print us some copies. So looking at the top,
These were already submitted and approved by the select board at the last meeting.
Yeah, right. It was approved by that meeting. And we approved these as well. I think timing wise, it just, the way the
didn't work
schedule
out,
worked,
yeah.
it didn't work out that way this time.
Yeah.
So town hall building, there's a deficit of $5,014.88. They're looking to take that from the leftover admin assistant wages, leftover town hall custodial wages, admin expenses, technology equipment, technology services. Town hall building expenses fell short this year due to extended contract for the HVAC system and need to pay remaining regular bills for a year. So that had to do, I'm assuming, with the whole HVAC maintenance and repair and...
Yeah, we took care of the maintenance piece at the special town meeting. This is actually, there's 2 payments left for the, how would you put it, the control portion of the contract, which is $2 payments of $1,484. So that's roughly $3,000 of the $5,000 right there. And then we've got a roughly rounded $8,000 bill I owe to the Southampton Water Department for our water service for this year.
Gotcha. Okay. Second, we have general highway expenses, $10,000 to be transferred from general highway wages. General highway expenses for necessary bills that will be due prior to end of fiscal year. I'm doing like a rundown of just kind of like what the general bills were.
And I'm going to try to do this without getting mixed up because I still don't have all the different categories here and set in my mind. So I'll try to stay away from the equipment, which is a different account. But from my memory, let's say, asphalt, which, filling potholes, which some of it does fall into the winter, but some of it doesn't. And what was the other one? Randall had identified some guardrails that is, in his opinion, if they didn't get repaired, would be a risk hazard to the town if someone actually hit them. So those are the 2 that stick out that I know are in the general highway expenses column.
Okay.
And I kind of urged this because I knew he was out of money and I wanted them to still be able to function, number one, and the other flip side of this is I'm still worried about in general going back in and
he's moving it within his department.
He's moving within his department.
It's not an increase.
So with the way it looks this year for the snow and ice deficit, that will end up having to come outside the department, and hopefully we'll still be able to cover that, and we've got our fingers crossed.
Okay.
But at this point, both Randall and I in this building are pretty well shut down unless absolutely something really major and at risk comes up and needs repair.
Next, we have assessor software, assessor support and maintenance agreement for Vision software was more than budgeted. So that's $70 coming from expenses to the software line. It's pretty self-explanatory. D, FY18, I'm sorry, the interest Halloween storm, 3905, coming from interest short-term debt. The FY18 budget estimated amount for interest actual came in higher than estimated, paid off entire amount in FY18 after January special town meeting. So that's completely paid off. This was just the small remainder left.
If the interest once they did that, correct.
Police OT wages. So we had known about this. They were budgeted separately. We saw that they were off. This is transferring 27,030 from police wages to police OT wages, which we kind of knew would happen. And then tree warden. So transfer $2,125 from principal assessor to tree warden. Bills for tree removal on Rattle Hill Road, liability to town, will not need entire principal assessor salary for the remainder of the year. So they took care of some troubled trees, and there was remainder in the principal assessor.
And then the tree warden's estimation that they would have, if they didn't come down, they might have been a risk to someone. So,
All right.
And don't be afraid to call the electric utility company if they're in proximity to power lines too, because sometimes we'll take danger trees without charge to anyone because of where they are.
all right, okay.
Danger to the system. Keep that in mind.
I will keep that in the back of my mind.
Yeah. If you call it in, you call the number on your bill, say there's like a hazardous tree. It needs to be adjacent to the line, it can't be like 200 feet away. As long as it's close to it, and if it's a legitimate danger, they'll take it or trim it.
So try that. Yeah, okay.
All right,
good to know.
good. Thank you.
Yeah.
And that is it for those. Are there other questions or comments, concerns?
And there'll be further rounds of
Yeah,
these too.
this is
And
just
I know
the beginning.
the fire chief has to take care of his. Like I said, we've still got the snow and ice, but I want, with this building being, well, I think I had 47 cents left, but I've been building bills for the last 3 weeks. And with the highway department, I want to keep them at least so they can pay their bills that they've already incurred, so.
Yep, I got you.
Okay. Then I move to approve the budget transfers.
A second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right.
We'll have some happy vendors in. Process of some checks.
I usually don't sign anything, but I'll just sign it. And I'll send Vicky an email too.
Okay, thank you.
Schedule next meeting. So we can schedule it today and you guys can kind of
Yeah.
coordinate.
And we'll talk it over and see what works.
Okay, or if you want to do it that way, you can,
Yeah.
we'll just leave it
It's up to
open-ended.
you
Do you want
guys.
me to
Yeah,
sit
go
and
ahead.
just send them an email?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I will forward you the finance committee email information to you and Heather and Dan. I'll send it to everyone. It'll have the login and everything. And
Okay.
we don't get a ton of stuff. Sometimes we do. And yeah.
And I'll send the draft of these minutes to Heather, and she
Okay.
can finalize them and post them.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
Is there any other business? New business, old business? With that, I'll entertain a motion. To adjourn.
Go ahead, Brandon. I'll let you do the last one, honey.
All right, I move that we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aw.
Great.